This is the Wednesday, May 9th, 2018, Children, Seniors, and Families Committee meeting, 5 p.m.
Testing, testing.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to get the evening version of the Children's Family Services Committee meeting. We're going to call that meeting to order. So if I could ask folks who are in the chambers, if you could please be seated. So if I could ask folks in the chambers to grab a seat. If anybody needs translation equipment, Maya over here is raising her hand. Translation equipment.
And if I may,
Yes,
I will
please.
translate for you, Supervisor. Si necesita equipo de traducción, si puede, por favor, ir atrás, donde habrán audífonos disponibles.
And Betty, if I could ask you to make the same announcement in Vietnamese, Betty. Thank you.
Hôm nay là có thông dịch viên cho tiếng Việt. Nếu mà có ai có cần thì xin qua cô Mai đứng đằng sau cửa đây đặng cho lấy một cái máy nghe nhé.
And we're going to begin by having folks just introduce themselves who've joined us. And Ignacio, if you could begin us.
Ignacio Guerrero, Director for the Department of Child Support Services.
Bob Minicucci, Director of the Social Services Agency.
James Gibbon Shapiro, District Attorney's Office.
Patricia Lucas, Superior Court.
Good evening, Molly O'Neill, Public Defender.
Lori Smith, Sheriff.
Miguel Marquez, Chief Operating Officer.
Cindy Chavez, Member of the Board of Supervisors.
Dave Cortese, Member of the Board of Supervisors.
John Mills, Deputy County Executive.
Rob Coelho, Assistant County Counsel.
Sandra Soto, Chief of Staff to Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren.
So I want to thank all of you very much for being here and to welcome you to this special meeting of the Children, Family, Seniors Committee. And the purpose of this meeting is to follow up and to get a comprehensive report from our staff on the discussions that took place at the 3 special hearings on immigration, hate crimes, climate, and women's issues that we had last year following the election of President Trump. In addition, we're going to be receiving information relating to work that is currently underway or being planned for the future. And many of you in attendance were here for those hearings. How many of you were here for the hearings we did last year? So a good number of you. I want to thank you very much for your presence and let you know that you'll get to see the fruits of your labor given all the input that you gave to us. So since we have a large crowd on our dais, and I just want to say that normally at our Children's Family Seniors Committee, it's Dave and I, but we've invited these community partners along with our staff because we wanted them to have an opportunity to both hear from you and hear from our staff. A couple things I wanted to talk about just from a process perspective. On public comment, and those are people who've come to speak to items that are not on the agenda. I have some people who didn't put any numbers on the agenda, so I'm assuming that there are a few people who've written public comment, and for those who have been specific about public comment, I will be taking that under public comment. Today, let me just walk through our plan. We are going to be meeting until 7, and we have some folks here on the dais who have to leave at 7, so I want to make sure we get the bulk of our work done before then. The staff is going to make about a 15 to 20-minute presentation, including Dr. Smith, who's not here, and then we're going to go to public comment. Based on the number of cards that I already have, we're going to begin, comment on those agenda items. We're going to begin with 1:30 seconds. So if you've got something in writing that you want to make sure you can convey, I'm going to give you some time to get to that. For the opening public comment, and these are for people who are speaking to items that are not directly on the agenda but want to air a concern, you will also have 1:30 seconds. So I'm first going to go to that group, then we're going to go to the staff report, and then we're going to open it up for feedback. And I will adjust the time based, again, on how many speakers we have. If I have to go below 1:30, I'll let you know. But mostly because I also want to make sure everybody up here gets a chance to ask questions or give input as well. Does that sound okay to everybody? Just to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. And I'm going to be kind of strict about that because I want to be fair. That all right? Now, the room's going to be a little noisy because we have lots of micro-humans, children. And I think that's good. It just reminds me of church. And so we're just going to talk louder. Is that all right with everyone? All right, good. Okay, so to begin our public comment, we're going to invite up Scott Largent, to be followed by Jaime Alvarado, to be followed by Pedro Villegas. Welcome.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Scott Largent. I'll keep the language to a kindergarten level here today since we have all the kiddies here. A good opportunity to kind of address the council, address the board, and also address our presiding judge, Patricia Lucas. In kids' terms, the order from court is very mean. It's just mean. I should have the opportunity to protest civil and peacefully here in Santa Clara County, anywhere basically in the United States. I did not block a sidewalk. I was on our sidewalk, the city of San Jose sidewalk. That order is just, I just think you've gone too far in a way. And it might sound weird that just little old me from the public is saying this to a judge. I just think it's mean. A lot of these people that have been out there protesting the family court, they're good people, and 95% of them, mothers, grandmothers. These people are not screaming in other people's ears. They're not threatening other attorneys. They're like a support group, and they have helped me through my troubles with the court system. And I'm fighting to become a dad. I'm fighting to be in my daughter's life. And these women are stepping to the plate, and I would just like for you guys just to take it easy on them. Look over that order, kind of do the right thing like that. I guess I'm going to have to go for a jury trial in a couple of months to fight that order. And we'll have all these protesters going in there, and the county will have to foot the bill, but it's the right thing.
Thank you,
So,
Scott.
thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I'm going to invite up Jaime and Pedro, and if I've called your name, if you could line up. If this is the time you intended to speak on another item, okay, no problem, Jaime, I got you. You will come up. Pedro, were you also speaking on the main item, or were you open public hearing session? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to staff, and we're going to begin. And like I said, Dr. Smith really wanted to be here, and I held the meeting at a night he couldn't come, and then that's my bad. So you're going to get to hear from him via video. And I wanted to welcome Vice Mayor Carrasco from the City of San Jose and Sergio Jimenez, council member from the City of San Jose. Welcome. All right. So video on.
Hello. Welcome to the special hearing of the Children, Seniors, and Families Committee to review the 3 special hearings that we had on women's issues, hate crimes, and immigration. First of all, I'd like to apologize for not being at the committee. I have a conflict with an appointment that I just simply cannot change. So I thought that maybe by doing this presentation, I could at least add my 2 cents to the discussion and have it there for your consideration. So from my perspective, the unifying theme here is the fact that we have hate that is being promoted within our society. And I'd like to talk a little bit about evil. Here we have children learning how to be white supremacists. Children living in violent families with intermittent partner violence. A president who degrades women. And citizens who want to close the borders to other immigrants because they don't look like them. Ever since the election of President Trump, I've had a realization that there is a deep-seated hatred in our society that's only been covered up.
So while they're fixing that, I just wanted to have, I know we're having some technical difficulties with the video, but also I know we're having some technical difficulties with the headsets. David, can you let folks know that we're trying to remedy that?
Reconocemos que hemos tenido dificultades técnicas con los audífonos y estamos tratando de componerlos.
Thưa quý vị, hiện giờ đang có vấn đề với máy nghe và vẫn đang đợi cho người thông dịch viên á. Xin quý vị vui lòng đợi trong thời gian mình đang ráng sửa. Cảm ơn.
Okay, so they're going to try to unfreeze that video. And what I think I'll do, if that's okay, is go ahead and, David, do you mind starting your presentation or should we wait?
Unfortunately, it's on this computer.
Oh, we're going to have the same, oh, okay.
Computer, we can't.
I'm going to reset it. Give me a couple minutes.
Okay.
So we can...
Do you want to do the introduction to your comments?
Yes, if I may. Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by thanking the chair of the committee, Chair Chavez and Supervisor Cortese, who were the individuals that called for the 3 special hearings and, you know, whose vision really brought us to this point. And we have in this room the diversity of the county of Santa Clara. And if you look around this room, you can see that you live in the most diverse county in the state of California, which is quite a statement. And the comments that you're going to hear from Dr. Smith really go to the importance of that diversity. And what I'm about to present to you reflects the work of many men and women who are part of what we're calling the Division of Equity and Social Justice that we are creating here in the county of Santa Clara. And I'd like to ask the staff of that division that work for 4 different agencies to either stand or raise their hands so that you can see the people that are responsible for the work that we're talking about. And I want to thank them for all the time and energy that went into this. But if I may, let's see, are we making any progress with the video? No?
We can give it a shot from where we are and try it again.
Okay.
It's been a rude awakening, realizing that, at least in my mind, we're reliving fascism of World War II, and in a real sense, we're reliving the Civil War with the desire for some to take advantage of others to make a profit. So after years of government caring for victims of these hateful crimes, problems continue. And the administration in Washington has normalized the concept of hate in our society. But worse than the administration is the fact that 30 to 40% of Americans believe that it's okay to treat women as objects, that it's okay to promote white supremacy, that it's okay to lie and cheat and disenfranchise minorities. I must admit, this surprises me, but one can only draw the conclusion from public reports that it's true. So these special hearings are a place to start asking questions about what we can do to deal with hate in our society and cure it. The board initiated these 3 hearings with the intention of asking experts and community members how they felt we could deal with these problems and what plan we could develop in order to attack them. You have before you 64 recommendations. Some are complex, some are simple, some have been tried before, some are new. And I think the question for me, and hopefully for you, is what's going to really work? Do we ever have evidence of successful interventions? So at least for me, I have to think about the problem as having its root in hatred. One of the writers that I rely upon to form my opinions is M. Scott Peck, who wrote a book called People of the Lie, which was designed to explore his concepts of hatred and evil and to look at whether there is a way to cure it. He's a psychiatrist. He's probably best known for writing The Road Less Traveled, but People of the Lie is a more clear understanding of the fight that we have today. He describes evil as militant ignorance. Different than a psychopath who doesn't feel guilt and therefore lives in an ignorant world, an evil person is someone who actually takes a conscious decision to not be like others, to enclose themselves in ignorance in a fantasy world where they have the ability to be dominant. They're filled with self-righteousness, which is intentional. They understand that it's intentional. It's not a byproduct of their personality, but it satisfies an extreme desire to dominate. And on a daily basis, they steal goodness from others. In an internally consistent world where there's black and white inside their minds, they see themselves as good and others as bad, and they will create this impenetrable protective wall which actually steals the goodness from other individuals around them. We can see this in the administration where the Trump behavior actually forces others to be liars and co-participants in evil actions. But group evil is different. Group evil is not a conscious choice, but rather a surrender of autonomy. Not a willful self-righteousness, but a deference to others who are self-righteous. The specialization of group activities where people who consider themselves to be underlings delegate their individual moral attitudes to others. And the reason is to create an impenetrable wall that protects them from their fear. So the denial that they have a responsibility is protection, and therefore they can specialize their efforts in a group effort and say, well, I'm doing my part, whereas the entire organization or group as a whole is actually doing evil things. It's a contagion that spreads, and it spreads because of ignorance. One of the more blatant examples of group evil is the My Lai massacre, which happened during the Vietnamese War. This was an event where hundreds of men, women, and children who were innocent were killed by American GIs, and nobody tried to stop the murder except for one person. Thousands of people cooperated in the cover-up until it was found out by accident that this had happened. Actually, M. Scott Peck was the psychiatrist who was appointed by Lyndon Johnson to the Blue Ribbon Committee that ended up investigating this problem and was charged with the job of trying to prevent it from ever happening again. That's how he developed many of his theories about group evil, realizing that good people who otherwise would never think of killing anyone who was innocent would, in a group, surrender their moral judgment to their leader and become killing machines. In my mind, the problems that we face with the evil of misogyny, intermittent partner violence, hate crimes that you're going to be talking about is really very analogous to this episode. It might not be as dramatic, but it's the same groupthink, where people who are otherwise nice, good, thoughtful, join together with evil leaders to promote very bad policies and create a society that intentionally hurts people. I hope by examining the 64 proposals and by rethinking our approach as a society to this group evil, we'll be able to come up with a plan that actually works to promote peace and goodness. Thank you very much for listening. Again, I'm very sorry that I can't be there with you, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Thanks again.
Well, thank you. Thank
Wow.
you, Dr. Smith. And we're going to I'm going to ask my staff if we can keep our presentation to 10 minutes so that we can move this forward, because we want to get to public comment. And if I can ask that the slide presentation be put up. And so if we can go to the next slide, and we're going to skip the next couple of slides, because I think that essentially what I want to say is to reiterate what was said by Dr. Smith, which is, we heard you. And we in the county of Santa Clara are not afraid to stand up to the Trump administration. And in the last few months, we have filed 2 lawsuits against Trump. And we are going to continue to do everything we can to resist against the hatred and divisiveness that comes out of that administration. But that said, this is not just about fighting Trump, but actually creating a proactive, positive agenda that goes beyond Trump and that actually tries to ensure the success of every member and every one of our residents. And as evidenced not only by this work, but you have in the at the JS, you have members of the local government family, you have our sheriff, you have our vice mayor, you have city council members, you have people who represent every facet of local government who are here to say that we are proud to be a part of a county that understands that we are stronger when we are together. And so with that, I'll turn it over to the next presenter, Dr. Arcel Blume, who is the Director of the Office of Cultural Competency. Dr. Blume.
The Office of Cultural Competency with
Here.
broad... I think this one works. Does it work?
Yeah, you're working now. That's a tricky one. You're doing okay.
Okay, so as I was saying, our Office of Cultural Competency with broad-based community and stakeholder input has as its vision to promote a community where cultural understanding and equality are shared values. The office leads development of cross-system strategies that bring together system and community leaders and seeks to continually develop approaches to meaningfully engage families and youth, to inform and help vet ideas for strategy, policy, and programming modification to undo systemic racial and other biases. Critically important in this work is to have an equity lens in these cross-system efforts to ensure that implemented strategies lead to benefits for all, particularly for children and families of color and other marginalized communities. Thus, all of the equity and social justice offices are either active participants of these efforts or are deliberately engaged at critical junctures. Some of these cross-system efforts, for example, and I'll just mention the first two, is development of a county-wide culturally intelligent framework and implementation of the trauma-informed and healing-focused framework, for example. Now, to highlight some of the initiatives around immigration, we'll hear from my colleague Maria Love, Director of the Office of Immigrant Relations.
During the immigration issues hearings, the community spoke to their fears and concerns about changes or policies the new administration might implement that would negatively impact the immigrant community. Some of this included defending immigrants' constitutional rights, protecting information being given to local, state, and federal programs, protecting immigrants from fraud, or information for employers and employees on their rights. Ever since these concerns were raised, our offices have been working on addressing and responding to these concerns at various levels. We have worked with a number of groups in creating a comprehensive family preparedness plan that includes detailed information on establishing a child care plan, steps to finding a family member or friend that has been detained, what can you do if you're approached by immigration agents. We also created and conducted a number of presentations on knowing your rights in the workplace, employer know your rights at worksite raids, as well as with the School Link Services program, in which we have trained coordinators within the 12 different school districts in information that they could share to the immigrant community. There is many more others activities that we've conducted that you could find within some of the material shared in this presentation. I would now like to turn it over to one of our community members who has worked with our office in some of these other offices in some of these activities. Rosa de Leon from Sacred Heart.
Hi, I'm here. Oh,
You brought a fan club.
I'm here with Sacred Heart Community Service in our capacity of coordinating with about 10 to 13 other community-based organizations and partners in our county, the Rapid Response Network that covers Santa Clara County. And this project came about right after the election, and I really, really want to say that this was the Tuesday right after we found out who the president will be. And this is a project that came from community members asking to have a place to call if they feel threatened by immigration enforcement. We've been live for over a year now. And the way that this network works is that we have a 24/7 hotline available for any community member to report any rumors of immigration enforcement, to report if they see immigration enforcement anywhere, to report if a loved one was detained. And there is very key pieces of the support that the network is able to provide. One of them is sending out trained legal observers first to verify if immigration is in our community. And the chart that you see up there, you see a lot of numbers, but all of those are people that are behind this project. Folks that are trained to show up in solidarity with their immigrant neighbors to conduct legal observation. Something that has become very valuable about that is that every time that we hear rumors of immigration being in our communities, it creates a lot of panic. being able to have folks trained to go and verify whether these rumors are true or not is very valuable to decrease the panic in our community and make sure that they're ready to assert their rights. The other important piece is that we have trained dispatchers that are able to pick up calls 24/7 so that our community can be reminded of their rights. Every time that someone is detained, and if we hear, if the network is contacted the very same day, we're able to activate immigration attorneys to be able to show up to San Francisco and meet with the person that is impacted. Something else that we do is ensuring that we activate attorneys for those folks that are at high risk, right? Meaning they didn't see, they weren't detained, but they are at risk of being detained. And today you actually will get the opportunity to hear of one of the community members that that activated the network. One of the great successes in being able to see this a year later is that 3 weeks ago we were able to, our whole team of Rapid Response Network were able to stop the deportation of 2 brothers from South County in Gilroy that were detained and tricked into signing their order of deportation to be returned home, and our attorneys were able to stop that. But that is a whole team of being able to activate the network, have folks picking up those phone calls, right? That's a big part of that, having someone on the other side of the line and being able to know about this the same day, right? As well as reminding our community members to assert their rights.
Thank you, Rosa. Next, I would like to invite our next community member, Lisa Newstrom from Bay Area Legal Aid.
Thank you. The unpredictability of the legal landscape for immigrants in the past 18 months or so has really complicated the work of the legal advocates, but I want to recognize that it's also complicated the lives of all types of immigrants and their family members, whether they're immigrants or not. When the rules of longstanding programs change every time people turn on the news, we know they have trouble planning how to meet their basic needs from month to month, let alone make the sort of investments in homes and businesses that lead to economic stability. So for this reason, we know that a spectrum of legal services is needed to help immigrants and their families to not just feel safe in their own homes, but to know that here in Santa Clara County, we see them not as problems to be solved, but as valued and integral members of our community. One of the ways people need help is through Know Your Rights education. Accurate, up-to-date legal information is really necessary to prepare for raids and ICE activity in a world without clear priorities and boundaries, but also to counter rumors and inaccuracies that often swirl around and cause as many problems for people as the actual policy changes themselves. When immigrants and those that they care about know about their rights, they are empowered to best exercise their rights and know when to seek help and how to seek that help. A great example of this is through access to legal services directly. With the help of the immigration service providers supported by the county, people don't have to go to the unscrupulous notarios or travel agents who are engaged in the unauthorized practice of law, who are ready to exploit their fear and vulnerability. Immigrants need individual screening and consultations by trusted partners so that they know how changes in the law might affect their personal circumstances, and evaluation by legal professionals to see what sort of relief may be available to them or to get advice on their particular options. And then finally, people need guidance and assistance on affirmative immigration relief if that is available to them. Legal representation is so critical that those who have avenues to a more secure immigration status are able to successfully obtain them. The complexity of these new rules and new interpretations of old rules make legal representation vital. People cannot go this alone. But legal representation can keep the families together, provide stability so people can plan for their futures. I wanted to bring a client with me today, but I was not able to, but I want to share one of their stories. A single parent who came through our door a few years ago was being evicted from an apartment. We discovered the reasons were related to domestic violence and her immigration status. We were able to assert her housing rights and help her get a U visa for her and her 2 oldest kids, and they were able to stay in their home and their school. Fast forward to more recently. when she and her older kids sought our help again because their U visas were expiring and they needed to know about their options. The kids were about to graduate high school and they had two futures in front of them. One, going back to a state of fear and instability with limited economic options, limited education options, and vulnerable to exploitation in the workplace, versus one with access to college, access to financial aid to pay for college, and the sort of economics that we all basically want for our kids. We were able to screen them and determine that all three of them qualified to adjust status to permanent residency. We were able to navigate the never-ending series of requests for additional documentation that kept coming, and because of the county support for these services, they were able to get screened and full representation from a pro bono attorney recruited, trained, and mentored by one of our staff attorneys, so that they were able to focus on that better future. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce Maribel Martinez, the Director from the Office of LGBTQ Affairs.
Good evening. The issues raised by the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer communities at the special hearing on hate crimes and climate had existed before the presidential election of 2016. However, what has changed since then is the urgency to which we have to respond. The fear has grown and impacted the community greatly. What has also changed is the frequency and intensity, the explicitness, the overtness of the hate messages that have been propagated in the media and our communities as bullies have become increasingly emboldened. There's no doubt that the LGBTQ community has been underserved for a long time. In many settings, talking about sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression are still taboo. Add to that the rising fear and the scarcity of resources, and then we can begin to understand the challenges and barriers faced by this community. In an attempt to make data-rich and mission-driven decisions, we need to invest in measures that address issues of bias and implement standard ethical data collection and provide meaningful levels of community engagement. The work of the Office of LGBTQ Affairs, still the only office of its kind in the U.S., has begun that work of responding to the needs of this community. The hearings were a powerful reminder that we must build trust and create partnerships. They underscore the need for specialized programs and services because one size does not fit all, and especially for LGBTQ. Overwhelmingly, the testimonies demonstrated that we need to work together toward healing. No one person or one office can solve it all. We must advocate for the LGBTQ communities and create mechanisms for the community to know their rights so that they can advocate for themselves. And we must train and support allies and empowered bystanders at the system level and at the interpersonal level to make sure that our county upholds values of inclusion, dignity, and respect. Today, my co-presenters are James Gonzalez from the San Jose Police Department and Ashton Pierce from the LGBTQ Youth Space. Each will share about some of the work we have done in partnership and in collaboration in the aim of being stronger together.
I'm Officer James Gonzalez. I'm the San Jose Police Department's LGBT liaison. We've begun work with the Office of LGBTQ Affairs through what the Police Chief Eddie Garcia has created, a community advisory board on LGBTQ issues. It's comprised of both employees and community members that advise on two different aspects. One, internal issues. How do you create a inclusive workplace? And until you do that, you can't really expect to deliver services in an inclusive way. One of the main things that we started to tackle with this group is the hate crimes issues. We know that underreporting is very, very large in our community. And so some of the things and some of the projects that have come out of this working group are community-based responses to crimes. Low-level crimes that traditionally have an enforcement-based response are able to be dealt with a community-based response. And so we have done that, and we now have a partnership with the Office of LGBTQ Affairs where they will respond with a site representative, with the liaison to some of these sites where things are coming up and look, what else can we do besides enforcement? Law enforcement in general really is in its infancy of comprehensively responding to the issues of the LGBT community. Seattle has done a lot of work in this area, and we are sort of studying that model. And one thing that's very, very clear of areas who are seeing reporting increase trust increase in law enforcement is really where there's a comprehensive approach to it, where the community is part of that response, where businesses, the county government, even the federal level, where everyone is working together to come up with this. And so we have started that here with the Office of LGBTQ Affairs, and we look forward to more work going forward.
My name is Ashton Pierce. I'm a community member. My name is Ashton Pierce. I'm a community member of U-Space, and this shelter is very important. And a lot of people could have used the shelter, and I myself could have used this when I was kicked out of my own house for being transgender about a year ago. The LGBTQ plus community needs a safe place to go when they have nowhere else to go. Thank you.
We'll now turn the presentation over to the Office of Women's Policy.
Good evening. My name is Protima Pandey. I'm the Director of the Office of Women's Policy, and I want to thank all of you as well as all the community members for being here tonight. After the hearings last year, there was a common theme, and the theme was on the attack on women's rights. How does one begin to tackle something that's so deep and pervasive? The Office of Women's Policy is proud to present to you some of the big ticket items that we've been able to accomplish since the hearings. And the most important among these are the CEDAW ordinance. This county became the 9th county in December of 2017 in the nation to pass a CEDAW ordinance, which is the Convention on Elimination of All Kinds of Discrimination Against Women. And this county is now beginning the work of setting up a task force that will work for the next 3 years on issues that will relate to housing for women, that will relate to justice-involved women and girls, as well as gender justice issues. It is my great honor now to introduce the Honorable Catherine Lucero from our very own Superior Court, who will talk to this panel and the community about the work that we have been doing with justice-involved young girls. And Judge Lucero, thank you.
Thank you, Protima, and thank you for hearing me tonight. I currently supervise the Juvenile Justice Division of the Santa Clara County Superior Court, and I am supported by the presiding judge, Patricia Lucas, who, and many other presiding judges throughout my tenure of 17 years. And I just wanted to let everybody know that it's because of the support of my presiding judge that I'm able to do this excellent work. And I'm proud to have worked closely with the Office of Women's Policy since the early 2000s, whether advocating for dedicated DV staff, exploring the utility of a girls' court, to more recently co-chairing the Juvenile Justice Gender Responsive Task Force, which we co-chair with Probation and OWP. What has been consistent with my work with OWP has been the effort to strategically look at how decisions in the criminal justice system impact girls. As a judge, I see every day a system that was originally designed to keep adult criminals separate from society, still influencing policy and programming, and maintains a status quo that could potentially create more harm to girls, while we simultaneously try to stretch ourselves to transform to a gender-responsive, trauma-informed lens, to recognize that young women and girls come into our systems for different reasons and have a distinctly different need on how to effectively exit our systems. In 2016, 18% of the detained youth in Santa Clara County were girls. In Santa Clara County, we work to do better. In the 2.5 years that I've co-chaired the Gender Responsive Task Force, we have made many improvements, and we've hit 23 milestones, both large and small. I have a report that I can give you if you're interested. We also have a proposal out with the Vera Institute to work towards the elimination of the incarceration of girls in Santa Clara County by developing a continuum of services in the community that are responsive to the needs of our girls. We've led the way on addressing the needs of justice-involved Latinas, and we are at ground zero nationally for Latinx youth in detention, on probation, and what we do here informs the national vision in collaboration with the National Girls Institute. And finally, important to note, we've also begun talks with the City of San Jose to partner on establishing a Young Women's Freedom Center, which we hope will create a safe space for learning, healing, and employment, leadership building for system-involved girls, a place just for them. A real difference for real people. That's what happens with the work with the Office of Women's Policy. By collaborating intentionally to serve system-involved girls with compassion and connection and empowerment, and to see them as the vital part of our future that they really are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge Lucero. We have been doing a lot of work at OWP to not just look at those who are in our criminal justice system, but also improve outcomes for women and girls throughout the county. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our work with young people, and we're very honored today to also have one of our young leaders from the community. The Girls Advisory Team is a program that Office of Women's Policy has been running for the last few years, and last year after the hearings, we focused the work of the Girls Advisory Team on issues that impact the well-being of young people so that they can succeed in their communities and build a leadership pipeline. I will now turn it over to Maya Itzel, a graduate of our Girls Advisory Team, who, even though she graduated in 2016, came back in 2017 to mentor new leaders. Maya, thank you for being here.
Thank you. My name is Maya Itzel Villa, and I'm a senior at Santa Teresa High School in San Jose. I have attended the last 4 Strong Girls, Strong Women leadership conferences with my sister and mom, and have been on the Girls Advisory Team for the past 2 years, first as a teen advisor and now as a teen mentor. As a part of the Girls Advisory Team, I have met girls from charters, public, and private schools from around the county. I have worked with them on the development of the Strong Girls, Strong Women Leadership Conference. This past conference, over 300 people attended and learned more about important issues from Title IX, healthy relationships, financial literacy, community organizing, self-care, gender identity, and also screening activism workshops and cultural dances. We were able to organize tables during our lunch hour that helped provide students with resources like information on reproductive health, early voter registration, robotics, and leadership programs, as well as internship opportunities. Teaming with OWP has defined so much of what I value in my vision for my community. I know that I can count on having a voice at the county executive, and the county is investing in the pipeline to leadership, starting with high school girls. The Girls Advisory Team in OWP creates a space for girls not only to develop their leadership skills, but to find like-minded individuals who want to create positive change in our community. It allows young women to start having a strong understanding of what a person's relationship is in their government and how their voices can be used at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. And Maya is a senior, so she's in the middle of finals prep. So I want to especially thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I know, Maya. Let us know who we need to ask to get you extra credit. Well done. And Ashton, too. You did great.
And finally, I want to take a couple of seconds to acknowledge the fact that this county received a report on intimate partner violence prevention in June of 2017, and the Office of Women's Policy is helping develop an allocation plan that is based around the 4 pillars that you see up here, the 5 pillars that you see up here. The goal of this plan is to ensure that we provide a whole person care model so that we don't just have a knee-jerk response to intimate partner violence, but help the community address all aspects of intimate partner violence, beginning from where the family starts. Prevention piece is as important as the piece on response, so that this community can truly build healthy and safe relationships and value the fact that everybody deserves to be safe in their homes and safe in an intimate partner relationship. I'll now turn it back to David.
And if I may, I just have 2 final points. The one mechanical point, and we're going to skip some of the other slides, is simply to ask respectfully request that the committee accept the report and forward the recommendations to the full board. And we again want to thank all the partners that are here. I failed to acknowledge the District Attorney's Office, the Public Defender's Office, of course, our presiding judge. This is such a priority. You heard from our county executive. We also have our chief operating officer here. And I'm going to end with a video that actually shows the intersectionality of the work that we're doing, and we have a young person who's gonna, it's a very brief.
He's watching me squirm because we have 50 speakers. And so, okay, we're going to hear a story. Good. And then I'm going to get to you, I promise. Thank you.
Thank you, Ladi. Maybe not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you. I think that concludes the presentation, and we'll turn it over to you, Chair.
Oh, Kevin started to work. You want to try one more time?
No?
All right.
Okay.
So what I would like to do is let me just talk a little bit about process and make one point to all of my colleagues that are here on the dais and let you know what this sort of led to. So as you recall, last year we got a lot of feedback. And so because of that feedback, the board, in the partnership with these offices and with a number of you, brought forward a number of initiatives. One initiative in particular I want to highlight is that the board made a $3.8 million investment in immigration services last year. We are in the midst of considering what that looks like in this next coming year. And I just wanted to highlight that because I guess what I want to make sure of is at a local level that you understand when you can give feedback at a local level, you can make change at a local level. So I'm so excited you're here. That was just one investment we made. We made many others. But I want to put a pin in that. The second thing I wanted to highlight is what the staff brought before you and what you all have in front of you or should have been sent to you is a recommendation for a new strategic framework because we have all these offices that were doing all this great work, but really trying to make sure that we were literally moving the dial on a number of different issues. And I think under Supervisor Campos, that's true. He was a member of the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco. I guess I can always call you that. But under the leadership of David and his team, they've really been thinking more about how to do less work next to each other and more integrated work with all of our offices. And I think all of our offices, including the Sheriff's Office, have been doing quite a lot of work around everything from how we're addressing immigration and immigrant rights to how we're addressing the rights of women to how we're addressing the rights of the mentally ill. So what you're asking us to do is to say, put our imprimatur on that. And so at the end, we'll be asking you if there are any concerns, questions, or recommendations you want to make relative to that recommendation. In order to make sure we can do that, I am sorry to do this, but we're going to go to 1 minute in your comments. And the reason is we want to hear from everybody. And I'm going to call you up in groups, and I'm going to ask you to line up and just come and speak. There's the podium here you can't see the mic, but it's there. And I'm going to call up a couple people who've been here many times so they can show you how to do it. And we are literally, and it sounds mean, but I'm going to have you wrap up in a minute because I want to make sure we're fair to everybody, right? So you're going to, and I also want to just say, I think if you cannot clap or cheer and anything like that, because if someone doesn't agree with you, I also don't want people to feel out of place. This is everybody's home. It's our collective home, the county. So I'm going to call up Jaime Alvarado, because I know he's been here 1,000 times. He knows how to do this. And then Jennifer Smith. And then Jennifer, to be followed by Lisa Lytle, Emerald, Cristino, Hawk, Rocio, and Haley, and then Gabby. And so come on up. And so folks can just get lined up, and I'm going to ask my staff to help people know where to do that. All right, 1 minute. Show us how it's done.
Jaime Alvarado, resident of Santa Clara County, here in strong support of the creation of the Division of Equity and Social Justice. It's a great idea. The more work you guys can do together, and is the better for everyone. The fact that you're creating a division sends a clear message to our community that this is a high priority for government. Actually, of course, what follows is the budget, and I'm not clear yet about the budget for that, but obviously it needs to have appropriate budget. I want to make 2 points. Look every chance you can at working at prevention. I know that's a harder thing to do than historically what's been done, but it is the right thing to do. And if you guys can really invest in long-term efforts towards prevention, this will bear fruit for the entire community. And the other point is that there's an opportunity, in particular with the findings of the IPV task force, to engage men in that work. So men, there are men who want to be allies to women, and this is a great opportunity for that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. Welcome. You can do this. That's okay. Just come on up, everybody. Just walk right up. And just introduce yourself and come on up.
Good evening. My name is Rocio Franco, and I'm here to discuss the need to end domestic violence in our county. If you're here in support of this issue, please stand. I have worked in the field for 7 years, but my experience goes back 34 years. I was just a year old the first time my mother took us to a confidential domestic violence shelter. I remember when my father threw an iron at my mother's face. Blood gushed down as she yelled for help out of the bedroom window. I remember when he punched the window of her car, shattering glass all over us. We were just trying to go to the laundromat. I remember my father coming home drunk and taking the only food we had, eggs and milk, out of the refrigerator and throwing them all over the floor. These are my childhood memories. They are not memories any child should have. Today, as the mother of a 3-year-old daughter, I am dedicated to ending the cycle of domestic violence for her and for all children. Please join me in committing to end domestic violence now.
Hello and good evening, Supervisor Chavez, Supervisor Cortese, and committee members. My name is Haley Steffeningdahl. I am an 8th grader at Easterbrook Discovery Middle School, and I am from District 4. The issue of intimate partner violence is a great concern, with thousands of people in Santa Clara County being turned away from help and shelter because of lack of funding. People are hurt, traumatized, and killed when they could be helped. The likelihood of someone returning for help after it could not be provided is low. This makes having resources a necessity. In our world, it is hard to speak out about your struggles and to walk out from dangerous situations. When you do get the courage, or when you are able to get away, you need support to keep that courage. If you are turned down, it is likely you will begin to distrust that you can be helped by any shelter or any person. I run a diversity club at my school, and when I told them that there was only 63 shelter beds in Santa Clara with nearly 2,000 unmet requests for shelter, they were absolutely shocked. There are many other areas of help that need to be provided for, not just shelter beds, but they cannot always be.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Smith. I'm the CEO of the Bay Area Women's Sports Initiative, also called BOSSY. We run programming specifically for girls, and I'm very encouraged by the progress made in the last year. I was up here about a year ago, and I just wanted to implore you to continue to invest in girls way upstream. And so it's wonderful to help in high school, and it's wonderful to help once they've hit the juvenile detention system, and I'm actually very glad that we're doing that. But if we can go way upstream and pull together and invest in programs that really support these girls physically, emotionally, and mentally, we can avoid some of this downstream. And it struck me today, I was actually working with a group from Indonesia of soccer coaches who came over on the U.S. State Department's dime to figure out how to spread sports and girls' leadership in Indonesia. And it struck me, and it frankly made me a little angry that we're doing that abroad but not here.
Hi, I'm Lisa Liddell, and I've been part of the Women's March leadership team and part of March On, which is more a national network of sister marches. And I just want to implore you to give as many resources to all efforts involving women, since we are the common denominator in immigration and helping with LGBTQ. We're part of 50% of everything that we're looking at putting resources towards. And I do believe that if we give more rights to us women and girls and have an equal say at the table, that we can solve issues with hate crimes and immigration and climate. So with the CEDAW task force, with the Commission on the Status of Women, whatever we can do, as my friend Jennifer just said, in starting early with girls, we need to make sure that we're giving as much to the equal rights for women to allow us to get violence out of the system and help everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emerald. I'm a queer student at San Jose State, and I'm here with the LGBTQ Youth Space. I'm here to support the LGBTQ shelter here in Santa Clara and hopefully in San Jose. I didn't expect to be here today. As a child, I grew up thinking that I was going to be dead in a dumpster by now. I became homeless in San Jose in August 2015. My parents kicked me out, and it wasn't safe for me to return home to the dad with 3 different arrests for domestic violence. I'm only here because I'm lucky. And I know too many people who couldn't be here today. I'm lucky that I had the LGBTQ space. I'm lucky who had people let me crash on their couches. And the people that I wish could be here today, this New Year's, I had to talk a 14-year-old trans child and tell him that it wasn't safe to run away from his abusive alcoholic parents because he's trans. And I had to tell them it was safer to stay with his father than to be in a shelter because he was more likely to be in danger that way. There are too many children I know like that. We need a dedicated LGBTQ shelter for that.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christina Martinez, and I'm here with the LGBTQ Youth Space, and I'm pushing for the shelter as well. I've personally, never felt safe going to the shelters when I was homeless. I've seen trans women avoid going to the shelters and rather prostitute to keep themselves off the street. I've seen a whole bunch of things. So I'm mainly just trying to push for a shelter for trans people because, other shelters are unsafe for us. We face a lot of physical violence, a lot of harassment, hate speech, all that when dealing with these shelters. So if we could have a LGBT shelter for people, that would be great. I don't know what else to say with the 15 minutes left. I wasn't expecting to come here. I kind of just came here out of nowhere. Okay, thank you, bye.
We're glad you came. Welcome. And as you come forward, I'm going to see if we have Gabby, Paula, Han Chung, I can, Elena Alvarado. Welcome. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Hawk, and you're looking at a man who is disowned by his parents for being trans. I have moved 7 times in the past 12 months because I am unable to find stable housing in San Jose. San Jose is one of the most technologically advanced areas and most diverse areas in the entire world, and yet we cannot find stable housing for everybody. You're also looking at a man who has escaped domestic violence. You're looking at a man who is taking 15 to 20 units at De Anza College to go into special education. You're looking at a man who is also working 40 hours a week just to be able to afford the place that he lives in with 3 other men. You are looking at a person who has also, been disowned, who is in the process of getting their official name changed. You are looking at someone who no longer has a family because simply of who they are. My mom and dad work for this county. My mom and dad are very big names in this county. And I want to bring awareness to the fact that they are here and they know who they are. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Gabby Seagrave. I'm a retired police officer from the city of Santa Clara. And after 27 years, I realized of the pillars, yes, response is going to be our typical mode of operandi. But we need to kind of evolve from just being response-driven. We need holistic programs that are culturally sensitive and diverse that match our communities. A few facts that you may not understand is that intimate partner violence is in the LGBTQ community as well. 44% lesbian women will experience rape, physical violence, or stalking. 61% for bisexual women. as compared to 35% for heterosexual women. And for men, 26% of gay men will experience rape, physical violence, or stalking, and 37% of bisexual men, as compared to 29% for heterosexual men. So we need to continue and develop these programs. I do appreciate the support you've already given. Whatever we can do to meet these people and give them the services where they are, regardless of language and diversity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lita Vala, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here working in the county, and I'm here as a woman of trans experience. I was not assigned female at birth. And with me, you will not see the many people who I work with who tell me their stories on a weekly basis. You're not going to see the trans elders who were there for me, who were people I turned to seek guidance, to see almost a reflection in the mirror when I looked at the reflection in the mirror and I didn't see myself reflected back. And just emphasizing the importance of gender affirmative care in this county, whether it's the shelter moving forward, the gender clinic. Even up until this week, I've gotten calls by people who are saying there's not people who are competent. There's people who claim they know gender affirming care, trans competent, they are not. I'm spending a lot of time doing trainings. So it's just a huge importance that gets overlooked easily because guess what? We all know about gender, right? We learn about male and female, and that's it. There's so much more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I apologize. May I ask for your name again?
Lita Vala. I thought you had called my name, just mispronounced it.
I will find it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
right.
I just wanted to check because thank you. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, our DV survivor had to go pick up her daughter, so I will be representing her today. My name is Grace. I'm a DV victim. I'm asking the board to increase funding for IPV services. Never in my life did I imagine that I would be in this situation. I came from Vietnam 6 years ago, got married to a man 20 years older than me. We have 2 children under 5. I thought I was doing a good job being a supportive wife, letting my husband control all the money and the big matters. But after 6 years of marriage, when he wanted me out, he turned everything upside down, and within a week I found myself on the street with no money and no place to live. I cannot even see my children because my husband slapped a restraining order on me, falsely accusing me of child molestation. I was so shocked, overwhelmed, depressed. I did not know where to go, how to get help. I was all alone. Luckily, Quinn Vong from ICANN came to me through the Cultural Broker program. She then invited me.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
It's okay. Thanks.
I know it's a fast minute. Yeah, and if you have anything in writing, please leave it with us. So Paula Han Chung, ICANN speaker, Elena Alvarado, to be followed by Hilda Ramirez, Diane Anderson, Brianna Saldivar, Rachel Castro, Mukta Sharangpani, Chayom Lee. Welcome.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Paula Sarabia. Por 20 años alguien me decía que lo que me gustaba comer, lo que me gustaba vestir, cuándo debía sonreír y qué debía pensar. Yo creía que los golpes eran normales. Me apartaron de mi familia y me humillaron. Fui abusada sexualmente, inclusive estuve a punto de ser estrangulada una noche mientras yo dormía. Señores, este hombre que me abusaba era mi esposo. Mas, sin embargo, yo no sabía que estaba siendo víctima de violencia doméstica hasta que afortunadamente empecé a recibir ayuda de parte de organizaciones que dan apoyo a víctimas de violencia doméstica. Así pude darme cuenta de lo que por 20 años viví. En los grupos de apoyo de estas organizaciones me han enseñado a vivir de una manera sana y sin violencia. Me han guiado en todos mis procesos legales. Ellos siempre tienen las puertas abiertas para cuando los necesitamos. Por todo esto lo que yo viví y que no quisiera que nadie más lo viviera, hoy yo les pido por favor que den fondos a estas organizaciones.
I'll translate. For 20 years, someone told me what to like, what to eat, how to dress, when I should smile, and what I should think. I used to think that being hit was normal. I was humiliated and isolated. I was sexually abused even to the point of being strangled one night while I was sleeping. The man who abused me was my husband, and in spite of all of this, I didn't know I was a victim of domestic violence. Only when I started receiving services from my domestic violence organizations, I was able to understand what I lived during those 20 years. The support groups from these organizations have taught me how to have a life free from violence and a healthy lifestyle. They have helped me with all my legal needs. They always have their doors open to when we need them. Because I don't want anyone to experience what I went through, is that today I ask you to please give needed funding to these organizations because they truly save lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for telling your story. Welcome.
My name is Han Chung, and I'm here as an advocate for domestic violence for victims. Everybody already talked about help. They need help for victims of domestic violence. But I see a broader problem is the perpetrator of these violence. And I think that we need more education program for parents on how to communicate among each other, communicate with children, and how to teach them to be more understanding to people who are different from them. And I think that will start at a family level and also at school level. We have to have these programs in order to teach young adults and to grow up to be human.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches a los miembros del comité y a mi comunidad. Mi nombre es Elena Alvarado y soy una sobreviviente de la violencia doméstica y un líder en la comunidad. Vengo esta noche a suplicarles y a exigirles que no corten los servicios que brindan en el condado para los sobrevivientes de la violencia doméstica, cuales brindan tanta ayuda, en muchas ocasiones servicios que pueden salvar la vida a alguien. Algunos de los servicios que me han ayudado hasta el momento a superar mi situación ha sido vivienda, alimento, apoyo emocional, consejería y servicios legales, asistencia económica. Estos servicios me han ayudado sobre todo para poderme amarme a mí misma, respetarme y valorarme. Me han ayudado a mantener mi mente clara para ayudar a la comunidad que está viviendo los mismos traumas que yo viví. Mientras yo viva, lucharé para que las mujeres sepan sus derechos y para que no haya más violencia.
Good evening to the members of the committee and my community. My name is Elena. I am a survivor of domestic violence and a leader in the community. I came to plead with you tonight and demand that you not cut the services provided in this county for survivors of domestic violence who provide so much help. Often, these services may save someone's life. Some of the services that have helped me so far to overcome my situation have been housing, food, emotional support, counseling, legal services, and financial assistance. These services have helped me especially to be able to love myself, respect myself, and value myself. They have helped me keep my mind clear to help the community that is living the same traumas that I have experienced. While I live, I will fight so that women know their rights and there is no more violence.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Diane Anderson, board chair for the largest DV agency in the county, here today as a constituent of District 4 and as a survivor of domestic violence. I stand before you a reflection of this pervasive problem that's literally hiding in plain sight. The work of DV shelter agencies never stops. It happens 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Still, DV-related deaths doubled between 2016 and 2017 when 14 souls lost their lives. We can't put a price tag on saving lives, but without basic funding for resources to do DV work, more people will remain in violence and more lives will be lost. We also need flexible funding to prevent family homelessness. If we prevent families from becoming homeless or needing shelter, we don't displace them from their communities, and children stay in their schools. The Domestic Violence Housing First model has been successfully piloted and shown to do just that. I commend you for your leadership on this issue and urge you to set a specific near-term date to release the budget for intimate partner violence so we can bring an end to this. Thank you.
Good evening,
County Supervisors, my name is Rachel Castro and I'm a domestic violence survivor. I would like to share my story with you and express to you the importance of how having access to rapid rehousing and building a healthy support system can make a positive difference in the life of a domestic violence survivor and their children. When I was a young mother of a 3-year-old daughter, I was desperate for a way out of my abusive life, so I decided to leave. I had no other option than to sleep in my car with my 6-month-old daughter. I remember as I held my daughter in the cold night, I cried and prayed for a way out. Each time I left the beating I received from my abuser got worse and worse. I felt I had nowhere to go, no one cared about me, and I was trapped. I found myself struggling in the yo-yo syndrome, where I would leave my abuser and then return. Eventually, one evening, my abuser we got into a horrible argument, and he drove me out into a secluded field and told me he was going to kill me if I left him again, because no one would hear my screams. If I only had access to programs like rapid rehousing and healthy supportive systems, it would have given my daughter an opportunity to begin my journey of healing. Thank you.
Thank you for telling your story. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Mukta Sharangpani. As an academic and an advocate of anti-violence work among immigrant communities, I cannot stress enough the need for a client-centric support system for victims and survivors of interpersonal violence. Intimate partner violence is closely tied to issues of power and relies heavily on holding victims hostage. It is critical that intersectional realities and challenges be factored in to services provided to these communities. Housing, legal, childcare, counseling, and mental health assistance are all crucial components of this intersectionality, and a holistic service model is the cornerstone of a successful intervention and prevention program. I request the Honorable Council to take this into account as it guides the future of this at-risk population and the well-being and health of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. As you come forward, can I ask you just to wait 1 minute? I just want to make sure I've called a couple more names. Cheum Lee, Rich Constantine, Pedro Villegas, Ruth Silvertobe, and Brianna Salvador. Thank you. Welcome.
Yo soy sobreviviente de violencia doméstica. El día de hoy mis hijos y yo estamos seguros, no solo por mi esfuerzo, pero también por el apoyo que recibí de mi comunidad. Tener personas de apoyo que me acompañan a corte para obtener la custodia de mis hijos y después para obtener una orden de protección hizo toda la diferencia para mí. No me sentí sola, también he recibido terapia para mis hijos, comida, ropa para mi familia. Yo estoy aquí para pedirles que reconozcan las necesidades que existen en esta comunidad. Para personas que están viviendo violencia doméstica, necesitamos más personas de apoyo que nos acompañen a corte, que nos conecten con recursos de nuestra comunidad como ayuda para vivienda, ropa, comida, terapia y más. Y muchas gracias por su apoyo.
I am a survivor of domestic violence. My children and I are safe today, not only because of my efforts, but also because of the support I received from my community. Having advocates who went with me to court to get custody of my children and later to get a restraining order made all the difference for me. I felt I was not alone. I also got therapy for my son and food and clothing for my family. I am here today to ask you that you recognize the need that exists in our community for people who are living with domestic violence. We need more advocates to accompany us to court that will connect us with resources in our community such as housing assistance, food, clothing, therapy, and more than anything, their support and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Could you say your name again, her name? Hilda? Got it. Thank you, Hilda. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Cheum Lee, and I'm a domestic violence survivor. I immigrated from South Korea in 2009 and had been abused by husband for 7.5 years. I was isolated in this country without any relatives and families. Thus, when I ran away with my 5-year-old daughter from home, I didn't have anyone who could call for help except the organizations. But I faced challenges when I explained about my situation to the victim advocates and when I spoke with DA showing the evidence which is written in Korean. I had to deal with my language first. Under the abuse, I didn't have any chance to improve my English outside home since I immigrated to the US. Not everyone can endure this painful journey. Thus, many victims tend to go back to the abusive relationship or give up the protections if they cannot find the right support system. My domestic violence case is closed since the judge granted 5 years restraining order last December. But actually, the freedom journey never ends.
Thank you.
Committee members, my name is Richard Constantine, and I'm a firefighter in this county. I have seen firsthand accounts of intimate partner violence. I have been called out to care for victims of violence too many times. I'm not here just as a firefighter, but as a Morgan Hill City Council member. I want my city to do more to prevent and address intimate partner violence, but we can't do it alone. We as a county are in the epicenter of innovation. What better place to make real change happen? We need to pool our resources together to promote, support, create, and enforce lasting change. I'm here to demonstrate my commitment to make this happen. Committee members, you have heard powerful stories of survivors tonight. Please remember them going forward as you make decisions on county budgets, policies. Let's cross the finish line on this. The return of investment is immeasurable. Let's create a safe place in America where my 2-year-old daughter can be assured that she will live free of violence. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rich. She did good. She just now noticed you were away. Welcome.
Hola, mi nombre es Pedro Villegas. Soy padre de familia de 2 niños. Tengo un niño de 1 año y 7 años. Vivo en Milpitas por 11 años. Desde que emigré de Michoacán, México, mis hijos y mi esposa dependen de mí. Y yo trabajo duro para ellos. Para tener una buena vida.
You're doing good.
Para tener una buena vida juntos. Estoy agradecido por estar aquí hoy, por estar.
My name is Pedro Villegas. I'm a father of 2 kids, 1 and 7 years old. I've lived in Milpitas for 11 years. Since I immigrated from Michoacán, Mexico, my kids and my wife depend on me, and I work hard to give them a good life. I'm really thankful for being here today, and to provide a little bit of context, Pedro is one of the family members that activated the Rapid Response Network, and he was set free 2 days after his detention, thanks to the support of the community and also attorneys from Pangea Legal Services that were able to be activated and make sure that he is back with his family.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ruth, welcome. And I'm just going to call a couple names, Ruth, while you're here, because you've been here many times. Nancy from Catholic Charities, Brian Wheatley, Lita Vala, Luis Marie Mendoza, or Luz, I'm sorry, Catherine Mata, Steve Pavon, Vanessa Ravdalis, and Dolores Alvarado. Welcome. Thank you, Ruth.
My name's Ruth Silvertope from the Alexander Community Law Center. Last time I spoke here, I spoke about hate crimes. I wanted to say that between 2015 to 2016, coinciding with the wall and the Muslim ban, hate crimes have gone up 300% in San Jose. But I'm here today to talk about how hate has infected the workplace. We've seen an uptick in threats of deportation when workers ask for their pay or assert any rights, from 6 in 2015 to 95 in 2017, and 13 times in San Jose. There is a climate of fear. I've worked with the Office of Immigrant Affairs, and we're doing trainings in I-9 audits. But I also want to emphasize how important it is to look to what's happening in the workplace. A chunk of my practice is now devoted to DV survivors who are fired or put on leave.
And also, just please, if you have your comments in writing, get those to us. We'll follow up.
I will, because I did
Ruth.
want to talk about DV too. Okay.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and I am a DACA recipient. I graduated from Santa Clara University in 2015, and I live and I work here in San Jose. I am here today to ask that the county please continue funding programs and organizations that support and help DACA recipients like myself. It is incredibly important considering the climate of anxiety and fear in which we're currently living in. We're not asking for free handouts, we're asking for the opportunity to continue working here and contributing to our communities. It is important to me and to my fellow DACAs to know that you will continue to do the right thing as our current administration insists in criminalizing and targeting immigrants. I am grateful to live in a county that supports the immigrant community. Without this funding, people like me will have to choose between renewing our DACA work permits or paying for our living expenses. For this reason, I urge you and respectfully request to please continue investing in us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Steven Pavon. I'm 17 years old and I have lived in San Jose my whole life. I attend Independence High School. I'm a part of a youth group called Jóvenes Activos de Somos Mayfair. I want to thank you for proposing to spend money to fix things like hate crimes, women's issues, and immigration issues. I have some friends in our group that are part of DACA. Some of them are scared because they don't know what's going to happen with what the president has been saying about getting rid of the protections. One of my friends, Jorge, needs to continue to work because he helps his family pay the bills. ICE has been picking people up, and it's good to help the people with legal services, but we also should remember the rest of the family that is left at home without their mom or dad. If ICE gets them, they lose the money because the person isn't there to work. The other members of the family suffer too. Just make sure that some of the money is for services that support the whole family, not just for legal services.
Thank you. Could you tell me your name again?
Steven Pavon.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Catherine Mata. I'm 16 years old. I've lived in the Mayfair district for all my life. I attend Independence High School. I'm part of a youth group called Jóvenes Activos in Somos Mayfair. Over the past year, the youth have been organizing issues around affordability and gentrification. One of our committees focuses on culture and the community and is working to preserve and use murals to tell our history and her story. Many of the murals around our neighborhoods have been slowly disappearing, and our art stories are slowly being erased. Other committees we have are trying to highlight the unused space near the old Moxa Center. We used to go there for after-school programs and other activities to promote health and culture. We are working.
Thank you. And if you have anything in writing, we'll take it. Please come forward. Yeah, you can give it right to David, and he'll get us copies of it.
Hola, mi nombre es Luz María Mendoza y soy miembro de la comunidad aquí de San José. Soy madre soltera con 5 hijos por causa de la violencia doméstica.
So my name is Luz Maria Mendoza. I'm a single mother with 5 children, and I'm a victim of domestic violence.
Y yo quiero pedirles que tomen en cuenta los fondos para que sigan ayudando a las personas más vulnerables, entre ellas los que pasamos violencia doméstica, a los de bajos ingresos y sin hogar, porque es muy difícil conseguir hogar.
I want to make sure that you take into account funding for the most vulnerable communities, people without places to stay, and victims of domestic violence.
Que den apoyo, talleres para que seamos personas que no tengamos miedo y que sigamos adelante.
That you provide the workshops so that we get educated, so that we're not fearful of our situations.
Y también para poder reportar crímenes. Yo no hace menos de un año, aparte de ser sobreviviente de violencia doméstica, también por no encontrar dónde vivir, renté un cuarto y el dueño de la casa intentó violar a mi hija más pequeña y acosó a mi hija mayor. Y por falta de supuestamente no haber alguien más con ella, no hicieron nada.
That I was in a situation where I was renting a place, and because of the unsafe situation there, two of my daughters basically were violated, and so it puts us in a situation when we have difficult times finding places that are safe to stay and to live.
Thank you.
Thank you for telling us. I'm sorry. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Raudales. I'm a first 5 mental health therapist at Gardner Family Care. I would like you all to take a moment and remember when you were 5 years old. Now, imagine that ICE comes knocking at your door 5 days before Christmas. This is a real story, one of the many stories that I hear from children that I serve. This is a public health issue because what it's creating is an adverse childhood experience, which is basically toxic stress that is causing everything from anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder in children under 5 years old. This has dramatic impact on a child's brain development. And we're doing everything we can at a micro level, and we need your help at a macro level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to invite up, as Dolores walks forward, Peg Carlson-Bowen, Deborah Pell, Amanda Clifford. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Supervisor Cortese, Supervisor Chavez. Thank you for having this today. My name is Dolores Alvarado. I represent the Community Health Partnership, 10 organizations serving about 240,000 patients. The purpose of my being here today is to support and to urge you to move the work plan, the Equity and Social Justice Work Plan, to the full board hopefully for adoption. Thank you again for holding the hearings, preparing the work plan. And what I love about the work plan, it's not perfect, nothing's perfect, but what I love about it, it's systematic. I read it 3 times. It's comprehensive and it's holistic. It doesn't separate healthcare from intimate partner violence, from poverty, from women's issues, from hate crimes. It's all built in together, and I think that's the beauty of it. I also would like to ask the team, under your direction, to pepper interventions throughout the plan that address the heart and the soul. And the last comment is, we're here to help. We have 10 organizations, 240,000 patients. We're here to assist you implementing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as Brian comes up, we have Lita, Peg Carlson, Deborah Pell, Amanda, Luisa Tembo, and Samir Martinez. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Brian Wheatley, and I am the son of an amazing woman abused by a husband who struggled with alcoholism, the father of 2 healthy LGBTQ adults who grew up dealing with fear and searching for acceptance, a proud rapid responder who answered numerous calls from my union office located at Story and Capitol. I'm also a teacher who can totally relate to uncooperative AV equipment. I just wanted to thank you for leading in these vital areas. I love the goals of inclusion, engagement, and transformation. Don't stop now.
Thank you, Brian.
My name is Peg Carlson-Bowen. I'm the Public Policy Chair of the San Jose branch of the American Association of University Women, which also has 6 other branches in Santa Clara County. Our office has worked very successfully in the past with the Office of Women's Policy on multiple fronts. We've worked on the Strong Girls, Strong Women conferences, and OWP helped sponsor our efforts in preparing young women to run for campus office, as well as workshops to help them successfully negotiate their first salaries out of college. We collaborate on a variety of issues: Title IX, Women's Equality Day, Bay Area Equal Pay Initiative, and we look forward to Women's Political Equity Initiative too. This proposal will bring together not only the Office of Women's Policy, but all these other offices, and will only strengthen these efforts and this positive experience that we've had before. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. I'm Debbie Pell, Chief Program Officer for Bill Wilson Center. A week ago, Chapin Hall published a research to impact brief with findings and recommendations to address youth homelessness in the LGBTQ community. As you know, LGBTQ youth are twice as likely to become homeless than non-LGBT youth. Not surprising, the research finds that the homelessness among the youth stems from multiple factors beyond just coming out to their family, but also includes poverty, loss, violence, addiction, mental health problems, and/or housing troubles. So I applaud Santa Clara County for the recommended service activities to bring safety and well-being to the LGBTQ community, including an adult shelter for the LGBT homeless individuals. Bill Wilson Center is privileged to be a part of this project in our own work in providing LGBT services in our TLP program, in our host homes, our drop-in center, and with our consultant work with Dr. Caitlin Ryan of Family Acceptance Project. Thank you for your leadership in protecting our youth.
Thank you. So, Amanda, as you come forward, I'm going to call up Jessica Jenkins, Matthew Castro, Hiroshi, Samira, Eliseo, Esmeralda, and Kariuska Pimentel. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Amanda Clifford from Bill Wilson Center, the Policy Associate. Bill Wilson Center supports Recommendation 13 to develop a hate crimes hotline. Bill Wilson Center's Contact Cares 24/7 hotline previously operated the county's hate crimes hotline. BWC is positioned to immediately and seamlessly re-implement the cost-effective 24/7 hate crimes hotline using our current county SSA line. The protocols and procedures are in place through our Contact Cares program. The line provides live response to situations from trained staff and volunteers, including online chatting. BWC can add email and texting to its current crisis line operations. We have staff and volunteers who are culturally and linguistically equipped to handle calls from non-English speaking individuals. We would like to recommend the county consider our request, as it's not only cost effective, but also ready to immediately commence.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Luisa, and I am a DACA recipient. I would like to start by thanking the Board of Supervisors and Santa Clara County for always supporting the immigrant community. I was born in Angola, Africa, and I came to the U.S. when I was 6 years old. I come from a mixed status household, as my sister is a U.S. citizen and my mother is a permanent resident. I have been in this country for 17 years and I have never left the United States. Last summer, I was a UCLA Dream Summer Fellow, and the fellowship was partly funded by the Santa Clara County's Office of Immigrant Relations. During my fellowship with Catholic Charities of Santa Clara County, I had the great opportunity to meet extraordinary undocumented and documented individuals from all across the country who have accomplished amazing things. I am extremely grateful to the county for helping me and other DACA recipients during our time of need and giving us a sense of security and financial stability. DACA recipients need this funding to continue empowering our communities, and I humbly request the county continues funding DACA under its current funding allocation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jessica Jenkins. I'm the supervising attorney with the Center for Employment Training, Immigration, and Citizenship Program. We all know about the anxiety and fear that our immigrant community has been dealing with in the last year and a half. I want to share with you briefly one of the thousands of people our organization has been accompanying through this very trying time. She's a survivor of domestic violence who sought our assistance to obtain protection from deportation. She left an abusive relationship with a U.S. citizen spouse and had in fact adopted a child who was related to her U.S. citizen spouse. We were able to help her obtain a green card, which is giving her and her child the security in the face of an increasingly hostile administration. She's just one of many community members whose cases and whose relationship with our office spans years. And as our work gets more and more challenging, we're very grateful for the county's ongoing support. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matthew Castro. I was born in the Philippines and I came here in 1999 when I was just over a year and a half old. Growing up here, I watched all my peers and my friends, get their first job, start driving, and eventually, sign up for college. And I kind of just watched it all pass by me because I didn't have all my legal documents. In 2017, my mom and I went to the Asian Law Alliance, which is a legal service organization here in San Jose, and they helped me get all my paperwork sorted out. In July, we first went over there, and then in October, I met up with my immigrations officer, and I had my first interview. And now today, I'm driving, I'm going to college in the fall, and this wouldn't be able to happen without all this funding, and I hope that you guys continue to fund this. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Esmeralda. Soy una líder de Siren y vivo en San José. Estoy aquí para pedirle al condado que apoye la educación comunitaria y el trabajo de preparación familiar de las organizaciones comunitarias como Siren. Aprendí sobre mis derechos con ICE y cómo crear un plan de emergencia en caso de que alguien de la familia sea detenido por ICE. Aprendí mucho y me siento más preparada que antes. Creo que estos talleres son importantes para las familias inmigrantes. Es crucial para las familias inmigrantes tener organizaciones como Siren que brindan esta educación comunitaria. Las organizaciones comunitarias han creado una confianza con la comunidad y son las mejores mensajeros para esta información. Sin esto no sabría cómo hacer o dónde acudir. Por eso es crucial que continúen financiando programas de educación para la comunidad por parte de organizaciones como Siren para que podamos continuar siendo empoderados. Gracias.
Hello, my name is Esmeralda. I'm a leader with Siren and I live in San Jose. I'm here to ask the county to support immigrant organizations continue their education and family preparedness workshops. I attended a family preparedness workshop at Siren where I learned about my rights in contact with ICE and how to prepare my family if someone is picked up by ICE. I believe these workshops are a way to empower the community, and I ask you to please continue funding programs like this. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to invite up Morgan Weibel, Quinn Mai, Dr. Jennifer Briscoe, Samuel Raimundo Esringa. Is that Raimundo? I'm sorry, Raimundo. And Raimundo is our last speaker that I have. So if I haven't called your name, or you don't think I called, oh, Raimundo, you did not write your name good. I've only known him since he was little, so bad handwriting. So if I haven't called your name, this would be the time to come up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this last speaker, and then I'm going to close the public hearing with Maria Cordova. Welcome.
Good evening. I am Hiroshi Paz. I am from Venezuela. I am very sorry of having to leave my country because of a political, economical, and social crisis that we are experiencing right now. Siren was the only organization who managed to help me on my case and assisted me to get my voice heard in this country. Thanks to Siren, I can stay legally and safe here in the United States. I want more organizations like this one who help those in a situation like mine and more support for attorneys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es Eliseo, soy un líder de Siren y vivo en San José. Estoy aquí para pedirle al condado que apoye la educación comunitaria de conocer sus derechos de Siren. Fui al taller como Conocer tus derechos de Siren, donde aprendí mis derechos constitucionales, qué hacer si estoy contactado con inmigración. Me siento realmente empoderado por la información y fue un cambio de vida saber que tengo derechos constitucionales. Creo que esta información es extremadamente importante para mí y mi familia. Antes de ir a este evento no estaba al tanto de mis derechos constitucionales o recursos disponibles para la comunidad inmigrante. A lo largo de los años. Gracias.
Okay. Hello, my name is Eliseo. I'm a Siren leader. I'm here to support the community education and Know Your Rights information. I went to one of the Know Your Rights workshops where I learned my constitutional rights and what to do if I'm in contact with immigration. I believe this information is extremely important for me and my family. Throughout the years, I've been able to build trust with Siren, and they're being able to share a lot of meaningful information. I don't feel comfortable going to public workshops, but I do feel safe to go to Siren and to get this information. Thank you.
Thank you.
So actually, I'm actually one of the speakers too. So
Okay, great. And what's your name?
Katiuska.
Oh, okay. Great, welcome.
Okay, hi, my name is Katiuska. I'm a community organizer with Siren. I'm actually a dreamer myself, and I believe it's extremely important to fund immigrant rights organizations, DACA resources, but anything that could prevent a deportation. This is a preventative measure to teach people about their constitutional rights. I've been continuously empowering leaders to know their constitutional rights, and we've been doing an amazing job on getting the word out to the community, but we need you to continue supporting our work so we can do what we do the best, which is empower the community to take action and to really own whatever is the American dream for them. So thank you for supporting us, and I hope that you continue to fund our programs and education. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Morgan Weibel, and I'm the Executive Director of the Tahirih Justice Center. For more than 20 years, the Tahirih Justice Center has answered the call of over 20,000 individuals who have survived gender-based violence, including human trafficking, forced labor, domestic violence, rape, sexual assault, and female genital cutting or mutilation. In January of 2017, Tahirih opened its offices here in the Bay Area, and later that year we received critical funding from Santa Clara County to expand our free legal services and social services in the South Bay. Immigrant women face unique obstacles in seeking protection from gender-based violence. Many of them are forced to leave their children and live in fear. And beyond that, they also need, beyond the legal services, they also need real systems change, which is why we've been deploying our national policy advocacy here on a local level to submit amicus briefs in the so-called sanctuary city cases. And at Tahirih, we recognize we may have only one chance to respond for help. So we thank you for joining us in that.
Hello, good evening, supervisors and committee members. My name is Quinn Mai. I'm the Executive Director of VIVO, Vietnamese Volunteering Foundations. Last year, we received funding from the Office of Immigrant Relations. And by the way, OIR did a great job reaching out and coordinating this funding. And with this opportunity, we are able to conduct monthly Know Your Rights educational workshop and outreach to hundreds of families on the importance of immigration issues that are impacting our community. We also secure over 200 pro bono hours from the attorneys that we partnering with. But there are thousands and thousands of families out there in this county right now are facing with deportation issues and stricter immigration rules and policies. These policies are tearing families apart, and it's devastating. You have the power to help them, so please do so. You have the power to protect them, please do so. What else can be more important than protecting our community? Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Jennifer Briscoe, and I'm the chairperson for the Commission on the Status of Women for Santa Clara County. It is important to live in a county that prioritizes an equity and social justice lens to decision-making. I've worked with the Office of Women's Policy on various capacities to the Commission on the Status of Women as a jail monitor, celebrating Women's Equality Day, and I believe the work is stronger and better when we intentionally address the whole person as they are suggesting. We have learned that when working with women, we run into immigration, cultural, LGBTQ concerns, and intimate partner violence. This office is already working together, and to continue the work by creating an equity and social justice division will help meet the needs of our community. I support this recommendation, and I urge you to move all with the recommendation to the board.
Buenas tardes, supervisores. Mi nombre es Samuel, yo soy residente de San José y he vivido en San José por 20 años. Yo tengo 5 hijos, 3 ciudadanos, un residente y uno con DACA. El 24 de abril, agentes de migración entraron a mi lugar de trabajo sin autorización. Ellos venían vestidos como civiles. Me preguntaron si yo tenía papeles. Me sentí aterrado sin poder hablar. Francisco, un amigo, entró en pánico y confesó que no tenía papeles. Francisco fue arrestado y se lo llevaron. Por primera vez pensé en el compromiso que yo tengo con mi familia, donde yo pago colegiatura privada para mis hijos, estoy pagando un mortgage de una casa. Pensé, si me arrestan, ¿qué va a pasar? Tuve suerte que no me arrestaron, pero Francisco no lo tuvo, esa suerte. Gracias a la línea de respuesta rápida, pude ayudar a mi colega y a mi amigo Francisco. Llamé a la línea de respuesta rápida, inmediatamente abogados representaron a Francisco. Gracias.
Thank you.
If I may, I'll be interpreting.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Samuel. I'm a resident of San Jose and have lived in San Jose for over 20 years. I have 5 children, 3 of who are citizens, a resident, and also a DACA student. On the 24th of April, immigration agents entered my workplace without authorization. They were dressed like civilians. They asked me if I had papers. I felt buried, unable to speak. Francisco panicked and said he didn't have papers. Francisco was arrested that day and taken away. My mind was in panic. I thought the responsibilities I have with my family. I pay tuition for my children's school and pay a mortgage. I thought, what would my family do? I was lucky not to be arrested that day, but not Francisco. Thanks to the rapid response hotline, I could help Francisco by calling the hotline. The hotline immediately provided representation. Francisco is now being represented by Pangea Legal Services, and we will hope he'll be free soon. I know the importance of knowing my rights. I now know I have the right to deny immigration access to my business because they lacked a valid warrant. That's why I'm here, because I want people to know their rights before this happens to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hola, mi nombre es María Córdoba. Mi historia no es más ni menos dolorosa que las personas que acaban de pasar, pero es igual de importante. Soy estudiante de psicología, madre, esposa, empleada, amiga y sobreviviente de la violencia doméstica. Tengo un futuro por delante que me he propuesto realizar y esto ha sido gracias al apoyo incondicional de los programas de violencia doméstica en los cuales me apoyaron en gran medida. Solo pido que me sigan apoyando y si quieren cambiar los apoyos, que sea para mejorar. Yo considero que debemos trabajar en equipo para que nuestra comunidad tenga mayor salud emocional y así crecer juntos, no individualmente. Trabajemos juntos en crear soluciones. Muchas gracias por su apoyo. Sin ustedes no estaría aquí.
Good evening, my name is Maria Cordova. My story is not more or less painful than the stories you've heard so far, but it's equally as important. I'm a psychology student, mother, wife, worker, friend, and DV survivor. I have a future that I'm committed to achieving, and this has been possible thanks to the unconditional support of the DV programs that have tremendously helped me. I only ask that you continue to support us, and if you want to change anything, it would be for the best. I think we need to work as a team so that our community has better emotional health and that we grow as one and not as separate individuals, and that we continue to work together to create solutions. Thank you for your support, and without you, I would not be here.
Thank you, Maria. Raimundo, you have literally the last word from our public speakers.
Oh, my goodness. No, so first of all, thank you for having this opportunity to speak. You've heard a lot about from the community about the needs that are out there in terms of the violence and the trauma experienced by a lot of people. I'm here to be supportive, and hopefully you'll take further action by allocating some funds to these efforts. The one thing that I do want to talk about is the trauma that's being felt by the undocumented community. We have therapists that are on the front line dealing with this every day, and they come back to me and say, hey, it's really tough out there. People are really stressed out about the environment. But one of the voids that I've seen in terms of of what we provide, there's really no outreach and therapeutic services going to the undocumented. I mean, either they have to come in, or for the most part have to come in, which is counterintuitive, because they're concerned about even walking the streets and let alone coming in. And we've seen a small reduction in services. But anyway, if you could look at providing a program that would be outreaching to them, that would be great.
Thank you, Raimundo. Thank you, all of you. We had over 50 speakers. Well done. And you were just really, really good. I know it's hard to do that in 1 minute, so well done. So let me just lay out the kind of 3 areas that we're going to be talking about, and see if you have questions or comments for the staff. We'd like to hear them. The first is what the staff is asking for our feedback on is the Equity and Social Justice Division. The staff framework, I think, was sent out to you, and the amount that would be in our budget this year to accomplish these changes and strengthening and restructuring of these offices is $3.2 million. So that's really what the first thing I want to just put on the table. The second is that as part of the budget process, the board will be examining the intimate partner violence report that many of you participated in the working committee on, and that will come to us as part of the budget process with the recommendation from the county executive as to the funding for that. And I just wanted to highlight that for you, because we're not actually talking about cutting resources to domestic violence at all. We're really looking at expansion of resources, and then really, based on the feedback we've gotten from you, the most appropriate investment. That will come to the board in June in our board workshops. In our budget hearings, but some of the discussion will happen during our board workshops. We will reach out to you. If you signed in and you gave us your email, we'll let you know when that hearing is going to be occurring. On the immigration investment, so currently the board has invested, I think it's $3.8 million in the bulk of resources that we talked about today. That's new, that's relatively new money. There are other monies in addition to that 3.8 that have been invested. So so we have additional resources for DACA and some other programming, as Dave was just reminding me. For some of that where we have contracts that are up this year, the board, based on some feedback that Dave and I have given, is going to extend the contracts for 90 days, allowing for more discussion to happen between the Office of Immigrant Relations, the County Executive's Office, the nonprofits, and some of our funding partners to make sure that the investments we're going to be making for this next year are at an appropriate level. And that's been challenging because the federal government has been so confusing that knowing exactly what we're funding has been a bit of a challenge. And so that's part of why we're slowing that process down. But while we slowed it down, we didn't stop investing in it. So I wanted to make that clear, because some of the comments may have made you think, hey, why are you defunding that? We're not. So first question is, are there questions for staff or feedback to staff based either on the presentation or on their work plan? Thoughts or concerns? No? Okay, then the next thing I'm going to ask is there general support? You know, because in fact, I'll go to you, Dave, because I think we're the ones who have to forward this to the board. But we wanted your fingerprints on it too. But Dave, do you have any thoughts or comments on the report that you want to make? Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I got a little different microphone set up here this evening. First of all, thank you all for being here, and I know we had a full house. Some people had to go on their way to home or other meetings or wherever they've gone, but thank you to them in their current absence as well for showing up tonight. I just want to make a couple general comments. Just somewhat by coincidence, I was on a call this morning with a representative from an organization called Local Progress, which Supervisor Chavez and I have both of us have interacted with that organization over the past year and a half especially, and even before that. But they do work in these three areas to some degree on a nationwide basis by trying to keep together coalitions of cities and counties throughout the country so that people are organized. So in case you have never heard of them or unfamiliar, but the phone call this morning was because they wanted to ask me about building coalitions and what our experience has been around working on these issues, because they know that we're highly organized here, that people show up, that people are engaged, that our local governments, like the city of San Jose and the county, have been very bold in their actions. But they understand that we couldn't be bold in our actions from the councils or from the dais here as supervisors or Jeff Smith or all the folks up here, the law enforcement folks, if we didn't have a community that was organized and that was building coalitions constantly and that were really giving us the kind of support we need to make these decisions. And the reason they wanted to talk beyond that was because as much as we have come to accept that when we have hearings like this, or we have meetings, or we have rallies, or we organize people, or we call to convene people, that all of you will show up. And that when we have marches, that the streets are full of people. This is not happening all over the country, even in those places where elected officials would like it to happen, even where the communities themselves on a individual basis would like to be part of coalitions so they can do what you're doing here in Santa Clara County, what we're doing here. They just don't exist. And they asked me after whatever it was, a 30-minute conversation at the end, what my recommendations were. And one of them was to make sure, to encourage people and teach people how to organize. When we went to Phoenix a couple of years ago on an immigration issue with JFI, Justice for Immigrants and PACT, and Father John Pettigo, we were amazed to come into the city of Phoenix where the sheriff there was actively rounding up and detaining immigrants without due process of any kind. We asked to meet with the organizers in that committee, and they all fit around a table, a conference table that was set up to hold 10 people. So our delegation was larger than their delegation, and we were traveling there. This is what it's like. So I know we have to protect folks here, and we're doing that. My second recommendation, though, was to make sure that they are doing whatever they can to put a face on these issues. And I'm just so amazed and impressed in hearing people come forward, first of all, for the courage to come forward. For those of you who are doing work in the community that helps people have the courage to come forward, for those of you who are sort of personing rapid response, volunteering and making all that work, and of course for the legal agencies that are rapidly responding and giving people effective assistance of legal counsel right now when they need it, not later or not 6 months after they've been detained. This is what we had in mind a year ago when we set in motion the investments that Supervisor Chavez was just talking about. This is exactly what we had in mind, and not that we're finished, but we have a foundation here to move forward that is not only important here, and it's important for the lives of people, whether it's domestic violence or immigration, and we have a lot of work to do on the domestic violence side as well. We understand that, and further investments. But we know that besides the work we're doing in our own county, we are establishing a model for how to mobilize that people are trying to replicate across the country. And I just want all of you to know that with all of our flaws, with all of our weaknesses, with the underfunding that we have in some of these areas that we're trying to attack and address as your Board of Supervisors, even with all those weaknesses, we are a leader in the country right now in terms of how to deal with this awful situation that we find ourselves in with a federal government and an executive branch of the government that is doing everything they possibly can to marginalize people who they see as the enemy, which unfortunately appears to be about 70% of the population. And that's no exaggeration. And I think Jeff Smith spoke to that in the video if you were here for that earlier. I am absolutely prepared to, given that this is a formal committee meeting, Supervisor Chavez, and it takes two of us to move this to the Board of Supervisors with a parliamentary vote. And I know there may be more discussion, but I'm happy to put a motion on the floor to move forward item B, which is the action item. I'll just say A and B under the transmittal that was provided to us by Mr. Campos, Deputy County Executive, on behalf of the administration. And if we want to have that out there for further discussion, I'm happy to do that now.
Thank you, and I'll second it. Actually, that makes it unanimous, so it kind of just passed right before you. So congratulations to the staff. And then we'll go ahead and take comments, and then we can wrap up. Magdalena?
Thank you so much. And I wanted to, first of all, I want to thank Supervisor Chavez and Supervisor Cortese for having initiated this process, which was about a year ago, if I remember correctly, and having invited me to be part of the process when all of this started, and thank everybody who came out here to be a part of this. I couldn't have said it better than Supervisor Cortese, but I feel very compelled to just say a couple of words. Because as a result of the hearings that took place a year ago, hearing from everybody, there's nothing better than hearing directly from folks and hearing everyone's personal stories. We go out, we represent all of you in the communities, and of course, as we sit here, my colleague Sergio Jimenez, who's sitting here as well, we represent about 100,000 folks in the city of San Jose. We represent many of you, and as well as we think we know you, it's very nice to be able to hear your personal stories as well. But as a result of those hearings while I was here, it really compelled me to go back to San Jose and really speak to my colleagues, at least a few of them without breaking a Brown Act, and work with my staff and with the mayor on a few items. And as a result of that, we were able to, for the first time, move and approve the Women's Bill of Rights. And we did that with the County of Santa Clara and with the Women's Policy Group. So I want to thank you for the partnership. And this is what comes from the kind of collaboration that does take place here locally and the model that we do represent. I think that sometimes not that we take it for granted, but sometimes we're so used to the kind of work that we do here, we don't always pat ourselves on the back, and I think that this is the kind of work that comes from that. But But I was actually very surprised that the largest city in the county didn't have a women's bill of rights. And so now we do, and we're going to start moving forward with an analysis of how the city of San Jose does work and how we treat women and how we hire women and how we promote women and how we move policy to protect women. But also as a result of that, we are now addressing and taking much more seriously issues of domestic violence. And so for those of you who may not know, I started my career in social work for 25 years. I worked in social services before I ever took on this title, and I started my social work career in domestic violence. And so it's an issue that's very important to me, to make sure that our young girls and our mothers and our sisters are safe in their own homes, and that if they are unable to be safe, that we have a place where they can be safe. And so so we're looking at ways that we can fund partnerships between the San Jose Police Department and our providers, and looking at the what do we call it, the lethality response team, which is very important. And so we are moving, I think, in the right direction. Again, it was spurred because of the hearings that we had here. And so I just want to be able to recognize that. But the city of San Jose stands with our immigrant community. For the first time ever, we have an Office of Immigrant Affairs. It started off as a pilot project, and now it's a permanent office in the city of San Jose, making sure that we protect our immigrant community, that we value our immigrant community, we support and advocate for our immigrant community. We were the first city in the country that sued the Trump administration against the dissemination, the destruction that he intended for it to be regarding DACA. So we made sure that we sent a very strong message to the administration, and we've also joined the county in its efforts to let the administration know that we're not going to let his attacks derail us or instill fear in our immigrant community. So, so I just wanted to be able to voice that, especially with my colleague who's here, that we stand with you, and we're very grateful that we were able to hear all of your testimony. And again, thank you, Supervisor Chavez and Supervisor Cortese. I think that that there is no other place that I'd like to raise my 3 remaining children, except for Santa Clara County and the city of San Jose. The oldest one is flying the coop, but she'll come back. I'm sure she will. But I don't know what else we can do to support you in your efforts. I know that at the end of the day, when you're voting on a budget or when you're moving any sort of memos, it takes 3 out of 5. For us, it takes 6 out of 10 or out of 11. So whatever support or help you need from us, I'm sure that you can count on us. But any recommendations, please let us know. I think that that's where we need a little bit of help, your guidance.
And one thing, so 2 things I would just say, and this I would say to the agencies that are still here. One thing, that when the county takes a final, when we take final actions on the intimate partner violence framework, one of the requests I'm going to make of staff is that we are engaging the city leaders, and this may be something we, the county and the city, can do together, but city leaders from throughout the county, because what I'm going to want to do is make sure that as we increase our investment to fight domestic violence, that the cities do the same, and that, to your point, that we're looking for ways to increase investments. Because one thing that has occurred to me, even as we've looked at immigration, I think you and us have
put money in and staffing in to address those issues, but I'm not sure all of our colleagues have started to prioritize these issues. So when we take that formal action, we'll send a letter saying, hey, we want to meet with you because we have resources, but some of those resources, as it relates to how we invest in our region, I think should have a match to them or some sort of a challenge to them so we can get cities to make some, to do some prioritizing. So that's one thing it would be great to have your help on. The other is that one of the things that came out of the last meeting, I was very enthusiastic about this, and I have to say, I keep a list. Like, if these are the 10 things we have to do, I'm, those of you who work with me know that. I'm just like, okay, let's go move it. The one thing we didn't do last year that I was most excited about was pull together women leaders to essentially create some work around policy. And what I wanted to do was reach out to the other elected women in the county to say, here's the women's agenda that we put forward in Santa Clara County. And it's not small. We're changing the timeline that we're working on rape kits. We are, we're going to be investing more in to fight domestic violence. We're, we're doing a ton of work on pay equity, CEDA, all of these initiatives that we've been working on that really, I think other women would be very excited to work on. By the way, whether they're at cities or other special districts. And pay equity in particular is one that all of us should be tackling and all of us should be playing a leadership role in that. So we're going to have, when we do our summer internship program this year, one of the projects of those interns is going to be to work on pulling together that convening, and it would be fun to do that with you and some other leaders, and Zoe, Congresswoman Lofgren, getting her to be our keynote because everybody will come to see her. I will. So anyway, that's one thing. The other thing I'd like to put on our to-do list, because I can't let another birthday go by without finishing that. So, all right. Any last comments? Then yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Miguel.
Thank you. Just some brief remarks on behalf of administration. So Dr. Smith started the discussion tonight by talking about the fierce challenge that we face given the current administration in Washington, D.C. Yes. And the 30 to 40% of people in America who are okay with that type of irresponsible leadership, a dynamic he called group evil. That was a stark and a startling message. Indeed, we face a tremendous challenge with respect to the rise of hatred in our country. This rise in hatred is, in my view, the biggest threat we face as a nation today. But sitting here tonight, listening to all of you, the leadership of our Board of Supervisors, our county staff from what we hope will soon be called the Division of Equity and Social Justice, and the leadership of the county staff throughout the rest of the county, all of our partners sitting with me up here on the dais, our nonprofit partners and the tremendous work they do for our community, and the incredible members of our Santa Clara community itself, thank you for sharing your stories. I know it's late in the evening, but I feel energized by the powerful leadership in this room. I know that the distributed leadership among our partners in this chambers and throughout our community will prevail in the fight for the heart and soul of our nation. I'm proud to serve as the Chief Operating Officer of this tremendous county, and in that capacity, I look forward to doing my part in the battles that lie ahead. I support the investment of county resources that are necessary to win this fight, and I urge our local government partners to make similar investments. Our cities, our school districts, our police departments, our high-tech companies. Let's not forget our business partners. They too are incredibly important. It will take all of us to win this fight. So thank you for the incredible work you all do every day. With the powerful leadership in this room, I know we will win. Thank you.
How do you follow that up? I crossed out everything I was going to say. I just wanted to express a big thank you to the many of the people that showed up tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces that visit us at City Hall. I very much appreciate you taking time out of your day, sharing your story, being brave. I know it's difficult. I also want to share a quick story. We often, as elected officials, get invited to different events, and I was recently invited to a fourth grade class at Edenvale Elementary near the Round Table area, which is a high-need area in my district. And after me talking to the class, answering questions about housing, about homelessness, which was very fascinating to me that they were interested in learning about that, there was a little girl and a little boy, Alberto and Carla, who walked me back to the office. And as I was walking back, Carla, she went maybe up to my waist. So she's in 4th grade. She's maybe about 10 or 9. And she looks up at me and she goes, "Mr. Jimenez, you know, my mom is scared that ICE is going to take her away from us. And what do you think about that? Are you and other people going to protect us?" And of course I told her yes, but it was very impactful to me, and it broke my heart that a 4th grader is concerned about her mom being ripped away from her, instead of thinking about what cartoon she's going to watch, what toys she's going to play with, that she's concerned about her family's welfare. And so I just wanted to share that story because I haven't been able to shake it. It angered me in the sense that, especially given the information that Dr. Smith presented at the beginning, just to think that what kind of world are we in, that this is happening. But it also gave me the fuel, as Mr. Marquez said, that there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of certainly some fear, but I would say a lot of hope. That I think we all recognize we live in a special place, and so I'm very appreciative of all the work. And as a former employee of the county, as someone who has folks in their family that identify as LGBTQ, certainly someone that has strong women in their family who was raised by a single mom, I just want to express my very sincere thank you to all the work that you here at the county do, because you know, this work isn't happening all over the country, and certainly I think we can look at different issues and think that more could be done, but I just, frankly, as a resident of the county, not even as a council member, and I know sometimes the city and county don't get along, it seems, but I'm very honored to be here, and I want to just express my sincere appreciation as a resident of the county of Santa Clara, that I appreciate all the efforts. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the residents, and we at the city continue to stand firm and stand tall for our residents, especially our immigrant residents, to do what we can. As an example, and Magdalena, you can close your ears, but during this budget process, my office is going to see what we can do to get some money allocated for the work against some of the census issues that we're facing, and so I'm hoping that the city really steps up and follows the lead of the county and a host of other folks that are trying to do good things and make sure that everyone's counted, so we have the resources moving forward. So thank you very much for having us.
Very good, thank you. I just want to, in closing, our next, we're going to adjourn to our next regular meeting, which is Thursday, June 14th at 10 a.m. We're adding a special meeting on May 24th at 8:30, and I think we're doing that for budget reasons. We have a process here. If you're going to bring something forward, that you have to have it go through a committee, and so, Dave, that's our time to do our best. All right. So I want to thank each and every one of you, and we will stay connected to you. Please make sure you gave us your email, and some of you, I read your printing, so you're going to need to print again out there to make sure we stay in connection with you.
And Supervisor Chavez, before you turn off the microphone and adjourn, I'd like to ask everyone to thank you and your staff for organizing this and making sure that it was inclusive and that people were invited and had an opportunity to be here.
That's great. Thank
you, a lot of
team.
work.
You guys did a great job. Thank you.